The global silence over Israel's hopes that the Iranian regime would disappear entirely from this world stands in stark contrast to the worldwide outrage over similarly phrased wishes on behalf of Iran 12 years ago to see its Zionist enemy vanish from the pages of time. International relations are characterized by double standards because each actor is striving to advance their own interests first and foremost with only a secondary regard for ideological consistency, and a recent reminder of that happened earlier this week when the world was silent after the Israeli Minister of Public Security Gilad Erdan channeled the previously condemned words of his entity's hated foe former Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Erdan controversially said the following in an interview with Israel Radio. "It would be better if the Iranian regime would disappear entirely from this world." There was no reaction from any international leaders to this statement, unlike the global outbreak of furor in 2006 after Ahmadinejad said something very similar when he famously remarked that the regime occupying Jerusalem must vanish from the page of time. This was deliberately misquoted as part of a CIA Mossad psyop to propagandize the fake news that he supposedly threatened to wipe Israel off the map, which ominously implies the use of military force and consequently triggered the so-called international community to unite in condemning him. President Putin also joined in as well, though not until 7 years later when he was giving an interview to RT and was asked a question about Iran, to which he responded by referencing that episode. As taken from the official transcript posted on the Kremlin website. Second, we need to be aware that Iran is located in a very challenging region. I have told our Iranian partners about that. That's why Iranian threats made towards neighboring countries, in particular Israel, threats that Israel can be destroyed, are absolutely unacceptable. This is counterproductive. Don't expect President Putin to say anything about Israel, though, since Russia's currently cooperating with it in order to balance Iran as part of his unofficial peace plan for Syria that ultimately envisions Moscow diplomatically managing Afro-Eurasia to the benefit of multipolarity. Nor, for that matter, should anyone obviously get their hopes up about any other country apart from Iran itself and possibly Syria, commenting on Erdan's statement despite it all but echoing exactly what Ahmadinejad said. The US is once again leading a worldwide effort to contain Iran through the asymmetrical means of economic sanctions and hybrid war, just like it did all throughout the 1980s via the proxy war that it encouraged Iraq's Saddam Hussein to wage against the Islamic Republic, and the rest of the international community is either actively participating in this or too scared of the US so-called secondary sanctions against their businesses to do anything about it. The exceptions, of course, are Russia and China, the first mentioned of which is masterfully trying to balance its relations between Israel and Iran in order to advance the long-term goal of regional peace and multipolarity, while the second is strong enough of a global economic powerhouse in its own right to not be deterred by the US threats. Even so, Beijing also has Silk Road interests in Israel just like it does everywhere else in the world, and is therefore unlikely to condemn Tel Aviv. Regardless of the intent of each member of the international community, be it the chess moves of Russia and China or the vassal-like submission of the EU and others to the US, politically incorrect fact remains that the world's silence on Israel's desire to see the Iranian government disappear entirely from this world is proof of the double standards inherent in international relations when most of these same actors felt compelled to condemn Iran for wishing that the Israeli government would vanish from the pages of time, which essentially means the exact same thing.